Hello everyone! Today, me and my brother Jakob are going to present our paper for EASE 2021. It's about the minimum hybrid contract. First, I will outline what it is, what it's about, and then Jakob will dive into the details. So, motivation. The type of financial institution a country ought to implement has, for the last 3 decades, mostly revolved around discovering and implementing the ideal mechanisms for achieving a free market economy. At the heart of these debates has been the question of how a free market economy can be secure, accountable, transparent, and inclusive to the actors involved, with some of the key solutions to these issues being particularly financial regulations and legal contracts. Moreover, while it is the corruption occurring in developing and emerging economies outside of the West which gives most of the media attention, it is essential to note that the issue of corruption is also a significant challenge for developed countries such as Norway or Scandinavian countries. To overcome the challenge of corruption and reliance on a trusted centralized third party such as clearinghouse or a bank, we propose supplementing the existing legal regime with smart contracts, where a smart contract supplements the legal contract. This, our approach, is called the minimum hybrid contracts and seeks to incorporate the accountability and transparency of smart contract into the realm of human judgment and discretion. So, in the MHC, which consists of a legal and smart contract, the smart contract facilitates transparent and secure financial transactions with immutable records, and a civil court handles dispute at the mercy of the legal contract between the two parties. So, background. For example, fraud in the construction industry is notable and takes the form of withholding information and misleading and altering documents. Other malpractices, such as making payments and invoicing for materials that never was received, is also prevalent. Also, 2 surveys in South Africa and Australia have shown that deceit and misinformation are the 2 most common types of fraud. So, as our analytical lens, we use the principal-agent relationship to identify the symptoms of contracts. Blockchain presents an alternative remedy to the corruption that is blighting the world economy. In our case, the principal hires an agent using a legal contract. The principal delegates works and responsibilities to the agent, thus the agent is acting on behalf of the principal. For example, relationships such as buyer-supplier, employer-employee. Through the scope of this principal-agent relationship, we dive into terms such as information asymmetry and moral hazard. Information asymmetry emerges from the fact that the principal cannot know all the time what the agent is doing, and he cannot monitor it 100%. Also, he does not know the agent's intentions in beforehand. Information asymmetry arises because the agent's behavior is unclear and not necessarily deemed trustworthy. Principal usually invest in information systems and routines to control opportunistic behavior and get information about the agent's behavior, etc. So, first we have information asymmetry, and then we have moral hazard. Moral hazard is when an agent neglects his contractual responsibilities. For example, if an agent uses billable time to work on a personal project. If a principal has weak information about such behavior, there is a higher chance of moral hazard through opportunistic behavior on the agent's side. So, usually the principal spends a lot of money to figure out if the agent is doing his job. Our research questions are thus: how can traditional legal contracts become more trustworthy? And how can blockchain technology improve existing contractual framework? Alright, let's go into the details soon, Jakob. I'm just going to outline the minimum hybrid contract which we have used to answer our research questions. It's a smart contract and a legal contract, and it's the legal contract is supplemented by the smart contract. It facilitates safe and transparent transaction with immutable records. It reduces the cost of financial activity by replacing costly intermediaries such as accountants, banks, clearinghouses with a smart contract. Yes, take it away.
So the minimum hybrid contract will solve issues for moral hazard and information asymmetry, and I will explain you our proof of concept solution on how we have solved it. So, as we said, the smart contract is only a supplement, while the legal contract works entirely on its own and does not need significant change. First of all, you will need to deploy a smart contract on a blockchain, and the second step would be to create the legal contract. And in contrast to normal legal contracts, we want to include the address of the smart contract, which is being used for accounting, and we want to include the public keys of the participants. So this is step 2, and step 3 is signing the contract. And in step 4, the contract is digitalized and hashed and stored as a reference in the smart contract. As the 5th step, both participants use their public-private key pair to sign the transactions for the contract on the smart contract. And in the end, they are able to terminate the contract if they want to. So, the basic principal-agent relationship in the smart contract consists of making payments, transactions from invoices. And in an example case, the agent can create an invoice. The invoice will be linked to the smart contract and the legal contract, and any payment made through the smart contract will be recorded and linked to the legal contract and invoices, vice versa. So the agent in the end will receive their payment, and everything is transparent and auditable. For a dispute, we can show the real powers of our solution, where for instance, a principal orders a dispute, files a dispute, and the court of law need to audit all evidence. Originally, they would only have invoices and legal contract, and no proof of authenticity of neither. There's no guarantee that all the records are stored, and this can be solved by using the minimum hybrid contract, because we store the hash of the invoice, store the hash of the legal contract, and record every single transaction, now being cryptographically guaranteed of the authenticity, immutability, and auditability of all these things. Makes the court of law much more prepared to order a fair settlement upon the agent. So, I will show you a little demo from running the contract. The contract is open source and available on my GitHub account, Jakob SN/MHC. And the basic 6 steps of using the contract is, first of all, you initialize the contract. The contract is given an ID, and the principal and agent may create a contract together. You register both participants' public key, and the contract hash of the digital contract is registered in the smart contract. And to begin with, the contract is not signed. So afterwards, the participants need to sign the contract, and it turns to signed. Afterwards, the participants may transfer money between each other. The transfers will be registered through the contract, and you can see one example where one Y is sent from the agent through the principal through the contract. Simple. And then, in the end, the contract can be terminated when both participants choose to execute that order with their public-private key pair. So, discussion. Let's go back to our research questions. We were wondering, how can we make traditional legal contracts more trustworthy? Well, Our solution would be to provide guarantees of auditability, immutability, and authenticity. Then, conveniently, to the second question, how can blockchain technology improve the existing contractual framework? Well, as we have shown, contracts can be represented in smart contracts, and invoices can be paid through smart contracts. So, just to summarize, by having smart contracts which provide transparency, immutability, and cryptographically guaranteed authenticity, we are able to prevent moral hazard and information asymmetry. And this, of course, being a minimum viable product and a minimum hybrid contract, we have not thought about everything. So things that could be improved would be to make a solution to store the invoice and contracts, because those are not stored on the blockchain, and if they are lost, there's no way to prove their authenticity because they are lost. And secondly, the court of order could be included more in the smart contract, giving them actual power to force an economic transaction from one actor to the other by using multi-signature escrows. This gives them the power to enforce that their orders are being executed, while just now they have no way of forcing the participants to send money. They can only do it in traditional ways. Lastly, privacy is an issue, because if you know the link between the public keys and the participants, then you will be able to see all transactions being made and the amount being paid between the participants, which we of course do not want. So this is the minimum hybrid contract. Thank you for your attention.